Hello, I am Chef Mike Cunha, and today we're going to be doing a demonstration on the fabrication of a whole beef tenderloin. Okay, in the industry, a beef tenderloin is also called a pismo, capital P, capital S, capital M, capital O, which stands for peeled side muscle on, and we'll show you the side muscle when we get ready to fabricate this beef tenderloin. Now the tenderloin basically is one of the most tender parts of the animal, simply because it runs along the spine of the animal inside the rib cage and basically is a support muscle for the spine, so it gets very little movement, which creates a very tender product. Okay, so basically with the beef tenderloin, it is in a cryovac package, so this is considered wet aging. There's no air in the package, and as it sits in the package longer, it'll actually get more tender. Now, on the package itself, you're going to see a couple of things. One, you'll see a round stamp on the package. Okay, the round stamp basically is an inspection stamp. It's required by law that all the meat is inspected, and basically it's inspected for wholesomeness, meaning fit for human consumption. The other thing you'll see is a shield stamp, and in that shield stamp you'll notice it says USDA choice, and choice is the grade of the meat itself. Okay, so you'll always see the shield for the inspection, and then the round for the inspection, and the shield will show you the grade if the product is graded. Okay, if you do not see a shield with a grade, that means the product has not been graded, and it doesn't have to be by law, and it's what's considered or called a no roll. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is take it out of the package. What we're going to do is turn it upside down. Okay, we're going to gently split the packaging. We're going to remove the beef tenderloin from the package. Okay, and in the package you'll notice there's some liquid. The liquid in the package is actually called myoglobin. Okay, myoglobin basically is an enzyme, and that enzyme actually helps break down the protein itself and actually makes it more tender. So at the longer that this sits in the cryovac packaging, the more myoglobin will be pushed out of the meat and the more tender it will become. Okay, that packaging and the myoglobin you cannot use. Okay, now with the beef tenderloin, basically we said it was peeled, side muscle on. Okay, so it's peeled, so the fat layer or the fat cap along the top of the tenderloin has already been pulled off. So the first thing we're going to do is pull off the side muscle. Now the side muscle in the industry is also called the chain, C-H-A-I-N, like a bicycle chain. So what we want to do is we want to remove just some of the top of this tenderloin so we can get to the chain. And then you want to run your fingers down the side of it, and you're separating the chain from the main muscle. So what we want to do once we separate that is take your knife, run it along the chain of the tenderloin, and remove the chain from the main muscle. Now on the chain, there's one piece of protein that's at the top of the chain that I always remove, and we can cut this into one of the 4 cuts that we're going to get from the beef tenderloin, okay, which is basically beef tips. So we're going to remove this section, we'll trim this, and then basically this section we're going to cut into smaller pieces. Which we'll put here, and that's the tenderloin tips. Okay, the rest of the chain you can trim, and you'll notice when you split it, okay, there's a good amount of protein in that section, and you can trim this, and you can use this for ground beef to make meatloaf, meatballs, or anything else that you can use ground beef product with. Any of the chain that you can't run through a grinder, that's too tough to run through a grinder, we would basically take this product and we would use that for beef stock or veal stock. Okay, so we're going to separate our product that we can grind, our product from the stock, and then back to the main muscle. Now basically you want to take off any of this paper-like product, and you can just pull this off with your hand, and again all this can go into a stock. And then we want to remove the small amount of fat that you'll see on the top of this tenderloin. Now, you'll notice on the top of the tenderloin, there's a layer of very shiny skin-like product. Basically, that's called a silver skin. Okay, and it's called silver skin because it is silvery looking, if you will, and that we want to remove. Okay, this will break down over time in cooking, so we can add this to our stocks because it'll add flavor to it. But you don't want to leave it on the tenderloin because if you cook this quickly, it actually gets tougher before it gets tender over time. So we want to remove that, and we want to basically just gently put our knife underneath the silver skin, begin to make the cut, and put our finger under the silver skin. Okay? Then we want to take the knife and we want to angle it away from the main protein, and we want to make a nice even motion all the way down the tenderloin to remove part of that silver skin. Then we want to take the silver skin, put it back in the direction that it began, and then take the knife and bring it back in the other direction to remove the silver skin with as little protein left on the silver skin as possible. Okay, now this product, again, we'll put in the section that has the stock, okay, and then we'll continue to remove the rest of the silver skin. Okay, now you'll notice that there's a piece of fat right in between the main muscle and this side piece, and this side piece is what's called a hook. Okay, now we're going to leave this hook intact because one of the cuts that I'm going to show you, which is called the Chateaubriand, is a larger cut from the larger end of the tenderloin, which is the head of the tenderloin, and then it tapers down to the tail. So we're going to leave the hook intact so that we can make that first cut, which is again the Chateaubriand. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this over, and we're going to gently remove the fat between the main protein and the hook. And that, of course, is just fat, so that can go into your grind. Now, when you trim a tenderloin, on the underside of the tenderloin where the hook is, you'll almost always find a small piece of silver skin that you'll need to remove. And it's this piece right here, okay? And that's the same product that was on the other side of the tenderloin. So you want to come up under with your knife, remove that silver skin. Okay, and then on the underside of the tenderloin, you'll notice there's small sections that have fat on that, okay, and that's thicker than you want to leave on the tenderloin itself. Now you can leave a little bit because as you cook the tenderloin, you want some of that fat to help add flavor and moisture to the product. So we're just going to remove the larger lobes of the fat from the underside of the beef. Okay, and since that's fat and not sinew or silver skin, we can put that in with the product that we're going to grind. Okay, now what you want to do before you begin cutting is go back to make sure that you've trimmed all of the product that you want to trim from the tenderloin. Make sure you didn't miss any. And you'll notice there's a small piece of silver skin here. And just a little more of that fat between the hook and the main part of the protein. Now, the cuts on the beef tenderloin. Okay, you're going to get 4 separate cuts. The first cut we're going to get is the Chateaubriand. Okay, and that's located at the front or the head of the tenderloin. So we're going to square it off. Okay, and basically we're going to take our first cut. And the first cut is the Chateaubriand. And in a restaurant, this would be tied with butcher's twine. Okay, then it would be cooked, finished, and then it would be actually served table side. So you would roll it to the table, they would actually slice it table side. And this cut is actually for 2 people. Okay. Now the next cut we're going to have is the filet mignon. Okay, and that's the center cut of the protein. In the industry, they're also called barrel cuts. Now these center cuts can range in sizes anywhere from 6 to 8 and sometimes 10 ounces. Okay, so we're going to cut these filet mignon. Okay, and you'll notice on the filet mignons in the tenderloin, you'll notice white streaks. Okay, that's actually streaks of fat within the protein. Okay, and that's intramuscular fat because it's inside the protein, and that's what's called marbling. When the meat is grated, the more marbling that the meat has, the higher the grade. So you're looking for that marbling, and as that cooks, that fat within that meat will melt, and again, it will add moisture and flavor to the product. So we'll cut one more filet mignon. Okay, now the next cut as you go towards the tail is what's called a tornado, or it's also called a medallion. Okay, a medallion is a 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 ounce cut straight down the tenderloin. So we'll pull the tornadoes from that. Okay, on this tenderloin, we're only getting 2. The larger the tenderloin, the more medallions that you would get. Now you have product that's left from the larger end or the head of the tenderloin, and then product left from the smaller end or the tail. Okay, those are going to be for our beef tips. So basically we're going to cut these into small 1 ounce portions. Okay, so now we have the 4 cuts from the beef tenderloin. Okay, so we have the Chateaubriand, we have the tips, we have the center cuts or the filet mignons, and then we have the tornadoes or the medallions. And that's basically the 4 cuts that you'll get when you fabricate a whole beef tenderloin.